Partnered by Times Influence.
Hello and welcome. We often fail to realize how electricity has transformed our lives. It touches upon almost every aspect of human endeavor. It fuels our growth and it powers our dreams. But the Indian power sector has its own set of challenges. We are heavily dependent on carbon-based energy, which is fast depleting our planet of its resources. We have unabated power theft and we have gaps in infrastructure. So we are going to discuss all this and more today in Elecrama Presents Transforming Electricity. And my panel for today, we have with us Mr. Sunil Mishra. He is the DG of IEEMA. Next to him, we have Mr. R.K. Chugh. He's the Vice President of IEEMA. And next to Mr. Chugh, we have Mr. Vikram Gandotra. He's the convener of the World Utility Summit in Elecrama. Thank you all gentlemen for joining us today. Mr. Mishra, we'll begin with you. Tell us a little bit about IEEMA and how is it invested in India's power sector?
IEEMA is Indian Electrical and Electronics Manufacturers Association. This body was established in 1947 during the time of independence of India in Calcutta. After about 20 years, we moved to Bombay, where the concentration of electrical industry was blossoming at that time. Indian Electrical and Electronics Manufacturers Association has a very large membership pan-India. 95% of the electrical equipment which either generates electricity, transmits or distributes electricity so that it reaches your home is produced by our members.
As DG of IEEMA, what are the challenges that you see facing your sector?
Electrical equipments manufacturers are passing through a phase where a lot of technological changes are taking place. And technology is changing very, very fast. Manufacturers have to keep pace with it. The government, which is one of the major players in this infrastructure of the power supply, has to keep pace with the technological changes in terms of legislations and statutes and of course regulation of the whole industry.
Would you like to weigh in, sir?
Electricity as a sector is passing through a very exciting time, particularly for the last few years. And it is on the expected lines when any other sector like retail transforming to e-commerce, normal taxis transforming to Uber-based, app-based systems. Electricity also, which touches the life, had to go through this transformation, and rightly so. It all actually started from the generation side. There are, as you know, there are three basic constituents of electricity: generation, transmission and distribution. So couple of years back, the storyline was very simple. It was a unidirectional flow of power. There were large coal-based power plants, far-flung places.
Yes.
Hundreds of kilometers of transmission lines, and then on the other side our age-old system-based distribution systems. But last few years what happened that there was a large influx of renewables, particularly from the wind side and solar side. So as a result, now what happens that distribution companies have become kind of coordinating institutions or agencies.
Right.
Earlier they were simply getting one-sided flow from the transmission system. Now there are multiple flows. So much so through rooftop generation from solar, they are getting supply. There is additional supply coming in from stationary storage, and in future there is a big influx going to come from the electrical vehicles also. When at night times electrical vehicles are not being used, they become kind of small generators.
Right.
So in order to meet these multiple flow of energy into the distribution segment, they have to be equipped with the right technology. And this is where we are sensitizing our teams, not only IEEMA members, but non-IEEMA members also in big way, particularly the SME sectors, because they are not exposed to technology. So through such institutions, we take this as our prime role to sensitize them, raise their confidence level, and motivate them to adapt these new technologies.
Okay. Quickly, sir, if you could weigh in also and tell us what are the couple of challenges that you see facing the sector.
Aspirations of a consumer today are increasing like never before, and they want uninterrupted power supply. They want full engagement with the local utility, and this is something which the utility also has to rethink how they are going to operate along with the consumer. So seeing these, of course, technology is there which is available, but they have to bring together and make the secret sauce so that the consumer goes back home quite happy and utility does its role. And of course, the manufacturing community will always be there to upgrade the technology, to make the new products available, new software solutions, everything which is required for completing this whole value chain. One neglected area was the consumption.
Yeah.
So there also a lot can be done by improving the efficiency of the existing equipment, whether it is the transformer or motors. A large part of our, for example, the agricultural pump sets, they are using outdated motors which are consuming very high electricity.
Mr. Mishra, taking up from there, do you think that government support could be enhanced and perhaps there are roadmaps and signposts which are lacking?
IEEMA and the government have got together to design a next generation pump. So with the help of the government, particularly Ministry of Commerce and scientific and research institutions, of course government owned, we in IEEMA are working for the next generation motors.
So there is support.
There is support. Today the government has become very proactive, and we have a feeling of partnership as far as the government and its agencies are concerned.
Mr. Chuk, coming to you, do you think Elecrama, which is going to have a huge technology pavilion, which you can maybe tell us a bit about, will technology be that thing that will address all of these challenges that all of you have spoken about?
Oh, sure. In fact, what we are doing this time is we are not calling it an exhibition. We are not also calling it conferencing. We are calling it as a total experience for our visitors. I mean, within the same premises on different timings, they can get to see more than 1,200 exhibitors, out of which 200 are from global, coming in with all the latest technology. There is a dedicated effort through eTech Next, in which we are showcasing the latest technologies. One of the prime features of this is digital transformation of power delivery. As I said earlier, now power flow is not unidirectional, it is multidirectional.
Yes.
Now this multidirectional flow of power cannot happen on its own. You need technological intervention through electronics, through communication, through digitalization. So all these things are possible with the latest advancement in technology, which we are going to showcase over there. Along with this, we will showcase also Internet of Things and digitalization. Another very important part of this will be human machine. We are going to demonstrate this over there, that how through your brain, how through your thoughts, you can control a robotic arm. This will be, more than that I can't say and take the excitement out.
But you don't want to let the cat out of the bag.
There will be a lot to learn for our visitors, just to imbibe the new flavor and then start practicing in their day-to-day life.
I'm just going to probe a little further. So, with the power of the mind, are we going to be able to flick on a switch?
Yes,
we'll
it is possible.
All right, we'll see that.
When we can change the movement of robotic arm, it is possible to change position of the switch also. That is the future of technology, which we are going to demonstrate.
That all sounds very exciting. Mr. Kundotra, there's going to be one more facet to Elecrama 2018, and you are a big part of that. Tell us a little bit about the World Utility Summit. What does it mean, and how will it impinge on the lives of a common Indian?
A common Indian wants two things: electricity whenever he or she turns on the switch, and the other is that the bill should be reasonable. That is very simple. And what is behind, he does not care. But behind this, there is a huge machinery which is at work, the utilities, the generators, the technology providers, the regulators who decide the various rules of this game. So it is very important that all of them are brought together at one platform, and they are.
There is a dialogue.
Yeah, so it is a dialogue. We are having a dialogue which will cover 6 very pertinent themes. The themes are, for example, the nexus between food, water and electricity, the regulations, the technologies which are there, then the changing role of the utilities for future, because utilities will not continue to behave the same way that they are doing today in future for a number of reasons, and they are going to ask certain very difficult questions which they need to answer and find a role for themselves in future.
Can you enumerate some of those challenges that you think that the utilities
So
might face?
Yeah, so for example, on one side there is total disruption, that they are facing a scenario where their high paying consumers are likely to go out of the grid because they will have their own generation, and this is the big problem, because they are able to pay for the lesser, the consumers were not able to pay higher rates through this subsidy. So if the higher paying consumers go out, then naturally the business model of utility itself will be questioned.
Will change, yeah.
Yeah, so these are some of the questions which utility needs to look back and answer.
These are threats.
These are threats, yes. So there is total disruption which is coming in their way.
Yeah.
So we have brought together all these utilities, all these ecosystem players like the regulators, the technology providers, the thought leaders and academicians, to bring together and come out with some ideas which they can take around the world. And also one important thing is, we have got experts not only from India but also coming from other countries. So there is a good platform to exchange their thoughts and look for new solutions. It's not only the Western countries who are coming, but we have got countries like many countries from Africa and Asia, Middle East, who will also be sending experts for this. So there is always a
give and take,
two-way benefit.
Yeah.
If we learn something, we also give something.
Right.
Yeah.
There's much more coming up on the other side of the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Elecrama Presents Transforming Electricity. Mr. Mishra, great talk about, everything technology, but let's go back to, what you pointed out, that there is going to be a flip side to it. What is this flip side going to be of everything smart? Is it all going to be hunky-dory?
Well, let me build upon what Vikram said about the challenges with the distribution companies, and those are huge challenges. One major challenge in our country is the transmission and distribution losses.
Yes.
Now, there are 2 types. One is the technical loss, which probably the World Utility Summit, Elecrama, where new technologies are present, can help in reducing the technical losses. But there are losses which are because of theft. Now, this is an issue which is plaguing many states to a very high degree, and the hole in the bucket is so large that no matter how much money is pumped in, that leakage happens. In Elecrama, we have solutions, technological, and there are proven models which can address this. So we have invited almost every utility in the country to come, not only for Elecrama for this purpose, but also for the World Utility Summit, where a very large pool of peer group utilities from other countries, developing as well as developed, will come. Sharing of best practices. We are at some stage of development where somebody has passed through.
Yes. Maybe
in a different environment and terrain. So the solutions they have, they may not be exactly transportable, but there will be a lot of learning in that. Challenges coming out of smart, and the grid is becoming extremely smart, is on one side, smart grid will improve the efficiency of the system. But because it becomes smart and there is a convergence of technology, software, digital, cyber, there are threats and vulnerability to cyber attacks, for example, increases. And such attacks have been there throughout the globe,
Right.
happening from time to time. A, because of truant elements. B, because of countries.
Yeah.
And when the country poses a threat, the resources at the disposal of a nation, a state, is much larger than a truant individual.
Yeah.
So we in the Indian context are very conscious that with the grid becoming smart, with a neighborhood where a nation, the relationship with a nation may not be very clear, and there is positioning on the border from time to time by a certain nation. From our point of view, as a subject of national security, we need to be very conscious. We need to have policies, and government has been proactive in the sense that we have formed a committee, and IEEMA has given suggestions from the point of view of safeguarding our interest as far as the national security and the grid is concerned.
Mr. Chugh, would you like to take up from there? Is there more that we can do apart from just having a policy? I mean, if ever, you know, Mr. Mishra is not discounting the possibility of an attack. What will all of you as stalwarts in the industry, do you think, you know, the industry can face it?
First of all, foremost requirement is a sense of national feeling. We have a very well equipped local manufacturing setup of manufacturers in the country. In fact, unfortunately, we have yet to reach an adequate level of capacity utilization. Industry as a whole, electrical industry as a whole, is touching approximately 70 to 75% yet, which is not healthy. It should be way beyond 80, 85, 90%. So when there is adequate local manufacturing capacity, in fact, foreign companies also have set up local manufacturing companies in India to supplement, augment on technology. So there is hardly any need of imports from the countries in particular where we have threat. Having said that, there are various measures with the government, with the society at large, which can be practiced in right measures.
Are we ready for it?
Yes, of course, we are ready for it, and a lot of education is happening for that, a lot of sensitization is happening for that, and apart from that, we are also working on raising the demand in the industry. You see, why there are issues, why industry gets hurt because of imports, because that cake is limited. So at the same time, we are trying to enlarge the cake size also. You would really be surprised to note that the per capita consumption of power in India is as low as 3 units per day, which is equivalent basis roughly 40 to 50 units in USA, and the global average also is at least 4 to 5 times of that. So why this anomaly? Now theoretically today our installed capacity is much more than our demand, but still there is disruption. People don't get power in pockets. So good part is that government is taking initiative. Now in earlier times there was a norm that if 10% of the households in a village are electrified, that village is deemed to be electrified. Now that has already changed through Saubhagya scheme, that 100% of the households have to be electrified, and the proof of that is when the particular household gets the first electricity bill through the utility. If he has produced first electricity bill, it means that house is electrified. And next action is that government is now thinking of bringing in a legislation wherein they are wanting to ensure 24/7 supply, 365 days in a year. What was happening earlier, that because of commercial considerations or some other reasons, discoms were switching off the supply in between. That practical situation was that more they supply, more losses they create. Now that is going to be thing of the past. When there is capacity, it should be optimally distributed. And once people at large, society at large is tuned to electricity, they get the taste of electricity, there is a latent demand. They start demanding more and more, and they start demanding quality power. So this is how industry as a whole internally within India can flourish.
Okay. You want to, weigh into that, Mr. Kandotra? Because you were the one who raised, the very pertinent point that the Indian consumer is looking for cheap electricity but reliable electricity, and the entire country is looking for electricity. It cannot be just given to pockets and stuff like that, and Saubhagya scheme, as he said, is trying to fix that anomaly. Can the generation match up, the power generation match up to that latent demand?
Electricity is going to play an even larger role in transfer and consumption of energy in human mankind, especially so in countries like India. We are seeing the talk which is going around for electric vehicles. So once that sort of numbers of electric vehicles come on the roads, you can imagine the increase which is going to be there in the need for reliable electrical power. What is interesting is that it is not just conductors which we are talking about or circuit breakers, because today everything has got intelligence. So once there is intelligence, there is a data which is also being captured and taken to some control centers. That is where there are possible vulnerabilities which can come and affect the operation. We as a manufacturing association also propose and help wherever there is a need or education which is required for building these ring fences around the digital systems. So that is something which we are taken up quite proactively.
One direct benefit which will accrue is that the technologies and the changes which are happening will ultimately benefit the common man and the housewife who has to pay the bill. So the aspiration of the housewife is to get quality power, uninterrupted power at reasonable prices. And that is the end objective of Elecrama.
On that note, we are going to end this discussion. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being part of it. There's lots more that's going to happen on this series, so keep watching us. But from all of us here, for now, goodbye.
Partnered by Times Influence.